fossils, and shells, and rocks, and little boxes, insects, strange books, pieces of art, glassware, medical ephemera. Whatever strikes my fancy. And in the last couple of months, I've accumulated a few new, very interesting additions that I'm hoping to share with you tonight. I'm going to start with the most innocuous and move on to the slightly creepy, and then to the very creepy. You can see it's rather dusty. A number of years ago, my mother passed away, and only recently is my father selling the house. And he discovered a closet with some things of hers, writings, and various objects. And this was one of them. It's actually backwards, looks like. So, this sewing machine is fascinating to me because this was obviously hers as a child. The best part about it is that it works. These were made for a number of years as both functional and toy objects for children. You can twist this little and you can see that it actually functions. There's steps numbered 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As to where you would put the thread, perhaps to teach you as a sort of analogy for a larger machine. But this could be, and I'm sure was, used to make clothing for dolls. It's quite beautiful. And the fact that it's functional makes it so amazing. It's just covered in dust. So this is the first object. The second object, which also came from that same collection of strange things, is this delightful little cat doll. I think it's supposed to stand up, but its supports have not worked in a very long time. I'm led to understand that it's Japanese. It's got a wonderful little face. It's very cute. And a little harlequin clown costume. Maybe pajamas or something, I'm not sure. Most of the paint is gone. It's faded and stained. That doesn't really detract from the appeal for me. I can hula or belly dance. The next next object from that same collection is this remarkably creepy doll. It's one of the ones whose eyes open and close. It's got a little mouth you can feed, and it's got a mechanism in its torso, and if you tip it, it sort of cries this strange whimpering metallic sound that was, I'm sure, once meant to sound like a baby. It has these unnecessary staples in its head. I'm not sure what those were for. And it's all cracked. The hands as well. There's cracking on them. Which I love the way that very old paint does this. The teeth look startlingly real, which I think really adds to the sort of creepiness of it. Also the strange beauty. The next two things came from my grandmother, my father's mother, who passed away very recently and left some peculiar items to me. The two favorites had to do with her time in the Middle East and Turkey and Jordan, where my father also spent a great deal of his youth. This strange object is actually a camel whip. Looks used. Poor camels. Little decorative snap on it. The most interesting part of this is that this appears to have been put together out of tiny little pieces. You can see that each of these little segments is made from an individual piece. That was all fitted together. As the light passes over it, you should be able to tell that each one is individually fitted in. It's just extraordinary. It's a beautiful piece. As strange and unhappy as its overtones might be, it was beautifully made. The wood here, I think this is probably shell and ivory or bone. The other piece that came from her is interesting because it, although it's relatively new, and the external portion of it is leaves something to be desired. It's extraordinary for other reasons. You can see it's made of a very inexpensive sort of board, sort of press wood or something. But it's got these nice designs on it. It's got this wonderful little whirling dervish on it. And really the best part is the fact that it's a music box. Now I know that music isn't generally considered to be ASMR, but I think this deserves to be heard because it is singularly unusual in music boxes, something that I've never heard before. It's a song that for some reason fills me with familiarity. I feel like I know it, but I can't say why. If any of you know what that is, I'd love to know. Now these were given to me by a housemate of mine who works in a very old mechanic's shop. He said they were used for removing horseshoe nails. I imagine this part you would push up against the horseshoe, and then you would use this bit to get a grip and then pry it out. They're in fantastically working condition. Very make a soft sort of sound when you close them. And they have an amazing patina on them. They're also extremely heavy. Now the very last item that I want to show you is something that I got for myself, but that some of you might think it's a little creepy, so be aware. If you're squeamish, you might not like this one. This little fellow is a horseshoe crab. It's actually just the exoskeleton. This little horseshoe crab shed this when he got too big for it. Or she, I suppose. I don't know how to tell their genders. It's very light, very thin, very fragile. These are its eyes. They're not very good eyes. They can maybe detect light and movement, but not really shape or color or form. But they've existed relatively unchanged for a few 100 million years, so I suppose they're all right the way they are. Underneath it, you can see it's got a number of legs. Its mouth is right here, and these little modified, I'm not sure what they were originally, but they're not officially legs, and they're used to stuff food down in here. These ones are also different. They're used, I think, more primarily for locomotion. These interesting things here are its lungs. These are called book lungs. They're the first real form of lung. They're a passive lung. The water just flowed through them and sort of took the oxygen out of it. So they don't really respirate. Like you and me, they don't breathe in and out. They just sort of have enough. Which sounds alright. You can see, I think this is probably where it pushed its way out. Its home. It's a little buckled there. And interestingly, horseshoe crabs are not related to crabs at all. They're actually more closely related to scorpions or trilobites than any crab. And they have blue blood. It's actually a sort of beautiful sky blue, because instead of this is so nice, so smooth. Instead of iron, they use copper in their blood, and it oxidizes, turns blue. And some of the little hairs are even still on here. I'm sure these will fall off. The best part about this little fellow is that nobody had to die for me to have this delightful little shell. He just was all done with it. Thanks for watching. I have a new art video coming very soon. I've been working on some very strange new art, but I haven't had a lot of time, so I hope for now these will keep you busy. You may have a beautiful night. Thank you for watching. watching.